Good morning and happy Sabbath, everyone, and welcome you to our Health Alert today. We're doing a series on a matter of the heart, everything cardiology, everything cardiac, everything cardiovascular. Okay, so this is part 2. Last week we talked about coronary artery disease, and today we're going to be talking about congestive heart failure. So as I said, coronary artery disease, we're going to be covering congestive heart failure, peripheral artery disease, heart attack, and brain attack, which we call a stroke. Okay? All right. So what is congestive heart failure? A condition that occurs when the heart is no longer pumping effectively, causing a backup of fluid into the lungs, the feet, the arms, and resulting in shortness of breath, fatigue, swelling in the arms and the legs. Okay? All right. So most common cause of congestive heart failure is actually coronary artery disease. There's some sort of plaque buildup. You can see that very far left. It's running very smoothly. And you can see a little bit of a buffer on the side. It's kind of starting to have a little bit of pressure, okay, causing a little bit of difficulty in flow. And it becomes even more resistant as the plaque builds up. So the plaque is building up and it's becoming a little bit more resistant. So the pressure, which would be 120 over 80, is no longer 120 over 80. It's higher because we had this plaque buildup on the sides, causing the pressure to be higher and even the relaxation to be higher. Okay? So the pathway has been blocked because of plaque, causing a restricted blood flow or no blood flow. As you can see in the last image there, the plaque is so thick because of what we're eating, drinking, lifestyle, and stuff like that, that it is now backing up. And that backup is what is causing us to go to the next level of congestive heart failure. Okay, so little factoid stuff. We've got some the congestive heart failure prevalence is actually getting higher and higher. You don't even have to be old, okay? You can actually be young, in your 40s, can be in your 30s, but depending on what you're eating, you could be part of this number, okay? The expected number to go from 6.2, which is where we currently are, 6.7, a little bit higher than that, and going up to, in 2050, and I'll be really old by then, to 11.4 million people being affected by this, okay? So we just want to be aware of that and mitigate all causes to get there, okay? All right, so let's look at some demographics. We can see that the people at most risk are the people who are Black and Hispanic. I would tell you that there's not really a lot of interest in getting this fixed from the powers that be. I'll just be really. And you can see the people who are least affected are people of Asian descent and white people, okay? All right, so 1 in 4 will be diagnosed with congestive heart failure. Someone you know. If you're in an elevator with 8 people, 2 people will be in that elevator with congestive heart failure. If diagnosed with obesity and hypertension, that rate increases. So if you are already having issues with obesity and hypertension, that ups the rate for you because something is going on in your lifestyle that may need to be changed, okay? Consuming foods consumed that have high levels of salt, high levels of sugar, hydrogenated oils, and animal fats puts you in that space. Very dangerous space to be, okay? And that's what's going to make that number go up. That number of prevalence that we're seeing at 6.7 million is actually going to be much higher, okay? And you don't have to be old. Young people are getting strokes. Young people are getting congestive heart failure. Very, very sad. Okay, and people say, oh, it's in my family history. what happens is that families eat alike and have some of the same habits. And so they eat alike, they live alike, and so some of these signs that we start to see are actually signs from a family standpoint. Families eat at Thanksgiving the same way. They eat at Christmas the same way. They pass it on from generation with recipes and such, and it becomes a bigger problem, a generational curse, if you will, okay? So you want to monitor your family members, especially the next generation, because it's happening faster with our younger people. Okay, so we talk about race, and so let me talk about some social determinants, okay? The social determinants is that we live while black. Chronic stress, okay? Walking on the street while black, okay? Or Hispanic. And those things, that constant stress, what's on the news, what's going on, is creating a level of anxiety and stress that we have never seen before. Really important that we understand that. Then there is lower levels of literacy, just because it's so hard to understand, and the way it's being portrayed and given to us is difficult to understand because they aren't trying to speak our language. They're speaking a lot of medical lingo that we can't understand. Instead of asking and saying, I don't really understand, just let it go on. That we cannot do, okay? Access to health care, okay? And we know that as this administration goes on, the access to health care will probably get less. So be aware that you may need to take some extra steps in getting to know what you need to know about your own health so you can stop that, okay? Lower income and education. We know we don't get all the great jobs. We get some of the great jobs, but not all the great jobs. And then food insecurity, okay? May not happen really in this area too much, but we can go into D.C. and have some issues with food deserts and issues where we can't find fresh fruits and vegetables. That's what we need in order to get better, okay? All right, so we also know that with fluid overload, if they're trying to manage this, we've been diagnosed with congestive heart failure, they're going to give you probably one of these medications, okay? That's one of the ways to do it, and there's some other ways to do that, but these are some of the medications you probably see, okay? All right, I want to tell you about a very young man who actually not too long ago died, okay? Very powerful man in the area of cardiology. Dr. Baxter Montgomery actually developed some ways to manage heart disease. Very successful in Houston, Texas. And somehow, mysteriously, he died of some kind of cardiac issue. So I'm not sure exactly why that could have even happened when he's been doing this for over 20 years. But I will tell you that most of the people he has healed and helped to regain their lives followed this along with some other protocols, okay? So I'm sharing this with you because this is something we can do, okay? And for some of you, I've shared something very similar to this before by drinking green juices for several days, drinking red and purple and orange juices for several days. This is his protocol, okay? Dr. Baxter Montgomery. So coconut water, spinach, kale, blue-green algae, and wheatgrass. And we do that smoothie for 7 to 15 days. Then advances from smoothies to raw foods. So you're getting the maximum amount of minerals and vitamins for your body to regain its ability to heal itself. Is this only for cardiac issues? Nope. It works for any chronic disease, okay? So this is something, you can ask me about it later, but this is something I'm going to be doing because I don't know what's going on with me, okay? And I say that just because we have things that meet the guidelines of labs and it hits the labs, and there's some things that are what they call subclinical. It's not been picked up by the doctors yet, no labs, but something's going on. And so you want to avoid getting sick, prevention, and do your best to do something like this. So you can maybe, again, 30 to 60 days in doing something like this to try to regain your health. Again, health care may not be exactly what we expect it to be in a little while. Okay. So let's give me some of the foods that you can eat to eliminate inflammation. Inflammation is the reason for 80% of the issues that we go through, okay? So here are some of the fruits for a stroke, pineapple, okay? Bromelain, very powerful in preventing you from getting a second stroke. Then you've got your orange and red vegetable, your orange vegetables and your yellow vegetables, your cherries, okay? Very high in antioxidants, your green vegetables, which give you all your minerals. Then you've got your turmeric, anti-inflammatory, your coconut, your olives, and your nuts, which provide a lot of minerals, vitamins, and different things that we need. And then avocado, really high in omega-3 fatty acids. Again, something we need to have in our diet. If you don't have these in your diet, please, please, please review this on your YouTube and play it over and write them down. Okay, how about the foods you should be avoiding? These are the foods that are causing inflammation, causing that plaque to build up and causing us to go into congestive heart failure, okay? Because it starts in one thing and progresses, and then we have other issues. So we have fried foods. We have foods with casein. We have foods that are dairy and eggs. Okay? We have our spicy foods, our fried foods, our foods with gluten. All these are causing inflammation, okay? And we have our processed meats, our seed oils, and we're calling seed oils corn oil, safflower oil, sunflower oil, but we should be really just having just coconut oil and olive oil, okay? And then we have our junk food, just name it. We have a whole bunch of them. And then we have our foods, our drinks, our sweet drinks, okay? So just a little kind of point of trivia. When sodas came out, and I was, a little girl, and they came out much later than that, there was like 35 grams of sugar. Now it's 75, okay? 75 grams of sugar. So they're upping it because people want to have more sugar. And so what you want, they buy. And what we buy, they'll make more of, okay? All right, so how do you fix this problem? We have to be aware that the food that we are eating needs to be food that is going to contribute to our health, our heart health specifically, okay? So nutrients from foods need to be really good, okay? Taking the time to look at labels, taking the time to look at everything that we need. We need protein, minerals, vitamins, and antioxidants and that sort of thing. Fiber, okay? All of these help to create better heart health, and not to create more problems, okay? Avoiding caffeine and other caffeinated drinks. I know there's green tea, and you just kind of have to take that therapeutically and not like a daily thing, okay? All right, and then we have exercise. It should be daily. Fundamental is walking. We should be walking every single day. Start with a few steps if you can't go far, and then keep going, because the more you walk, the more your heart pumps. The more your heart pumps, the more you have the opportunity for better heart health. Okay, solar vitamin D. So getting outside is so, so important, and we just need to get outside so that we can have the proper amount of UVB. UVB is what helps to break down some of these, actually to build up vitamin D3, which helps in reducing cholesterol. So getting in the sunshine is really important. Do not avoid the sun. Just try to get in the sun earlier in the day so that you aren't having that sun blaring on your skin and burning it. You just want to have it early in the morning. Between 6 and 9 a.m. is enough sunshine for 20 to 40 minutes to get what you need to fight cholesterol and fight some of these things that are happening in our bloodstream causing heart problems, okay? And you also want to make sure that you are not getting too stressed in the sun so that you are creating more problems for yourself. So adequate sun, making sure that you get enough sunshine, not heat, so that you are going early in the morning and you are avoiding any type of stress on your heart. All right, self-control. All right, so just be aware of your good and bad habits and then pull back and ask the Lord to help you with those, okay? Then we have fresh air. Exposing yourself to fresh air is really important because actually pollution creates the problem as well, okay? Pollution can create problems as we are looking at our heart health, oxygen levels, and that sort of thing. So you want to be sure that you have good fresh air. Where do you get the fresh air? Walking on a trail where you're exposed to trees, okay? All right. Then water. Water is really, really important. You want to avoid sweetened drinks, as we saw on the other slide. But more importantly, if you have congestive heart failure, any amount of weight, like 2 pounds and above, is a red flag, okay? Need to get to the doctor immediately because that may be a buildup of fluid that you may start to feel in difficulty breathing, your feet swelling, and you've got this pitting edema. I mean, you put your finger down, you can see the imprint of your finger in your foot. That's a problem, okay? So you want to be sure that you are aware of that. Getting proper rest. It is really, really important that you get adequate rest. The problem is that when people have congestive heart failure, they do not get enough rest because they're just, anxious and just not being able to get enough rest because they're always tired, always fatigued, okay? Educating yourself. Really important that you educate yourself on everything having to do with whatever condition you've been diagnosed with. If you have not been diagnosed with a condition, learn it anyway because you may know somebody who may be faced with this, okay? Trust more, stress less. That's all God, okay? We can't trust in man. We have to trust in God. Really important that we improve our spiritual lives, okay? Again, a lot of studies show that when we have a prayer life, this is research, this is studies, these are journals, secular people talking about this, that when we trust and pray and know people who trust and pray, that we have less stress than the other people who don't do it at all, okay? The investing time in others, focusing on helping others is what we need to do, taking the focus off ourselves and being aware that we are going to need to focus on other people because when we focus on other people, God just blesses us, as it says in Isaiah 58, verse 4, okay? All right, so get your fresh fruits and vegetables. There are a lot available, a lot of growers right here in Maryland, and you can get that. They're available after 5 o'clock every day, starting actually every Friday and on throughout the weekend, okay? And then our prayer room. As I said before, time to pray, let's do it. Let's get our prayer lives together because at some point it's going to be very difficult to manage that which we have not started to develop in ourselves now. All right, that is it for now. I want to thank you all for your attention and wish you all a happy Sabbath. And we'll see you again next week as we continue this series on a matter of the heart.